Hello and welcome. I am still Viorica Condrat and welcome to the second part of the fifth lesson where I would like us to go on learning about the netiquette rules, particularly how to display an appropriate, respectful online behavior. So, before we start, I would like us to make sure that we still remember the meaning of these pictures. So the first picture is to indicate that you should pause the video for a few minutes to think about a certain topic. I call it the brainstorming break. The second picture means that you will have to listen to some audio before doing a task. This guy typing something on his computer tells you that it's actually your turn to write something, either in your notebook, course book, or online on your class site. The lady who is reading at leisure something um, encourages you to read a text along with me, most probably. Finally, the guy is speaking about something and with a speech bubble behind him challenges you to speak. You'll be asked to record your answer, for example, using Voki or your recorder the recorder you have in your phone or computer, and then upload the recording to your class site. We know how important setting the goals is. So let's see what the objectives for today's lesson are. First, I'd like us to enrich our vocabulary. One way to do so is to form new words. This time we will learn how to say the opposite of a word by adding a prefix. I hope that you still remember Mike's story. And he, at a certain point, said that he needed the help of a psychologist. Have you noticed that the letter P in this word is silent? I suggest practicing the pronunciation of a few words that have silent P in them. Also in the text, we came across such a phrase, sentence, people now can communicate at any time in any place. Have you wondered what the meaning of any in this example is? And I think it would be also good if we revise the use of some. Finally, we will listen to a psychologist's pieces of advice, and then you will be asked to record a podcast, your own podcast, and upload it to the class site. So let's get started, shall we? Now, during our last lesson, we tried to describe Eddie, and we arrived at the conclusion that Eddie is a kind person. His broad smile seems to show that he is extremely happy. He is excited about something, and we assume that most probably he is excited about his camera that he holds in his hands. Most probably Ari is a curious guy. He's an extremely positive person, and I think we can say that he is polite and agreeable. Now, who is in this picture? Probably you have recognized a cyberbully. Have a brainstorming break and think if a cyberbully can be called a kind, happy, polite, agreeable, curious, and pleasant person. How would you describe such a person? I think that you described a cyberbully in another way. And the a cyberbully is the opposite of a kind person. He is unkind, unhappy, impolite, disagreeable, incurious, and unpleasant. So what can we notice? We have added something in front of those words, and those prefixes mean the opposite of the word. So a prefix is what we add in front of a word. If we add prefixes like an, dis, im, in, the new words that we form mean the opposite. A person who is not kind is called unkind. A person who is not agreeable is disagreeable. A person who is not polite is impolite. And a person who is not curious is incurious. Let's do a bit of practice, shall we? Add the correct prefix to mean the opposite. So pause the video, write down your answer, and then play the video again. Online communication has a lot of advantages, but it also has a lot of... what prefix have you added? Indeed, online communication has a lot of advantages, but it also has a lot of disadvantages. Now, make the opposite of kind words make people happy. So true. Let's see. Unkind words make people unhappy. Sad, but also true. The next example. Adi is always polite. What about a cyberbully? Is he always polite? A cyberbully is always impolite. And one more example. Well done. Your answers are correct. But what if your answers are not correct? What kind of prefix would you add them? You should try again. Some answers are incorrect. I would like to tell you that even if you don't get your answers right from the very beginning, keep practicing. Please remember that practice makes perfect. Okay, now what would you say if we do a bit of pronunciation practice? While reading Mark's story, we learned that he saw a psychologist who helped him recover. Have you noticed that the letter P is silent? Let's learn to pronounce some other words that have silent P. So listen and repeat. Psychologist, cupboard, raspberry, receipt. Well done. Now, let's take another brainstorming break. In the text, we learned that the biggest advantage of online communication is that people can communicate at any time in any place. What's the meaning of any in this example? What do you think? Take a few minutes to think about it. Let's analyze these three examples so that we know what to choose, some or any. So, what is the meaning of some? In some people have disrespectful online behavior. When we do not know the exact number of things or people, we can use some. In this example, some means an unknown number of people. Some doesn't indicate how many. One more remark. Some is used with this meaning only in positive sentences. When we have negative sentences or questions, then we're going to use any. So what's the meaning of any in you can call me at any time? Any here means that it does not matter what time it is. I will answer the phone at the time that is more convenient for you. And finally, some in would you like some tea? Some is used here to offer something in a polite way. We also use some when we make requests politely. So let's practice because we know practice makes perfect. Again, pause the video, write your answer, and then check. Some or any? Yeah, indeed. Some people do everything with their left hand. We do not know exactly how many. A certain number of people do everything with their left hand. Let's see the next example. Some or any? You can take any bus. They all go to the center. So what's the meaning of any? It doesn't matter what bus you take. So all the buses that stop at this station go to the center. So they will get you there for sure. So you can take any bus. The next example, some or any? Definitely. Would you like some cake? We offer something in a polite way here. In this example, a piece of cake. Some or any? After that, Mike didn't receive any cruel comments. We notice that this is a negative sentence and we should use any here. Some or any? I'd like some bananas, please. So when we make requests, we also use some. Okay, now when we read Mike's story, we've mentioned that he needed the help of a psychologist. Now let's listen to the following podcast where a psychologist shares some tips about what to do if you get bullied online. While listening, arrange the tips in order the psychologist mentions them. So let's start. Hello there, and welcome to my wellness podcast. Today we're going to deal with a serious problem, namely with cyberbullying. Here are some things you can do if you are in such a situation. First of all, talk to an adult, like parent or teacher. Secondly, ignore the bully. Bullies like getting a reaction. If you ignore them, you're telling them that you don't care. This is the best way to take away their power. If you get a bad message, turn off your computer or phone for a while. Thirdly, don't respond. Responding when we are upset can make things worse. Do something you love that doesn't give you time to think about what's happening, like playing the guitar, going for a run, reading or watching TV. Finally, block the bully. Most devices have settings that let you block the bully from sending notes. Take care and stay safe online and offline. What good pieces of advice the psychologist gave us in her podcast. Now it's up to you to express your point of view. What do you say to making a podcast yourself where you will answer to the following questions? Why is it a good idea to ignore the bully? Why shouldn't you respond to bullying messages? What should you do to distract yourself from thinking about the rude messages? What happens if you block the bully? Record your speech and upload it to the class group. Listen to your peers' podcasts and leave comments. So let's interact online. Okay, now let's see if we have managed to achieve the set objectives. So we indeed formed new words with the help of negative prefixes. We practiced the pronunciation of words with a silent P in them. Also, we've practiced the use of some and any. Now we can distinguish between them and choose the most appropriate variant. Okay, we did some listening, right? We listened to the psychologist podcast, and speaking is your home task. I'm pretty sure you are looking forward to listening to one another's podcast. Okay, so I think we all have done a great job. Keep up the good work. Don't give up. You're bound to succeed. Stay safe, both online and offline, and learn English.